All right, y'all. I've heard your question. How do we get to the corporate bag? How do we book the corporate client? We see you doing the things, and now we want to know more. So let's jump into how we book the first corporate client. You've been doing photography for a while now, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. You've been working with weddings and branding and portrait and all different types of things. And you're still finding that the money comes from the corporate client. So now you're thinking, how do I break into that industry? Like, what would get AT&T or KFC or anybody to call me? You're thinking they're probably going after big agencies. They're going after big production companies with budgets that are spending 40,000, 100,000. They don't want little old me. I'm just one man with a camera. They couldn't choose me, right? Wrong. These companies are looking for creators just like you. They have opportunities for creators just like you, and they have bags for creators just like you. You can do content production that would earn you 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, even $100,000 just as a lone videographer if you play your cards right. But before you get there are a couple things that you need to do before you even open that door to corporate photography. So, I'm going to give you later on in the video 5 different ways that you can find opportunities in the corporate photography space. But before we get there, I just want to make sure you guys are set up for success. So, I'm going to tell you 3 quick things that you need to check before you even reach out to try to get a corporate client. Number 1 is your website. Is your website in place and in order to attract the type of client that you want? So for me as a corporate photographer, when you go to my website, the first thing you see is a conference and convention photo. You see something that's going to draw you in to see more of the type of content we create for corporate conferences and conventions, because that is the niche that I choose to serve. So you want to make sure you're prioritizing a portfolio of work that when corporate clients go to your website, they know exactly what they're getting and they want to find out more. They want to see how you operate, how you're priced, and are you ready to work? So you want to create a website where it essentially explains itself. When they come here, they know who you are, what you do, and how to find you. That inquiry form needs to work. You should have an email address that matches your website so you look legitimate and so you're putting your best foot forward. Now, once you've got that website in place, you also have to consider how you're going to approach different corporate clients. And so you need to have a set standard portfolio. I'm not talking about a Word document. So when they ask you for the price, you just put your pricing in there. Word document is all ugly and convoluted. No, take some time, get on Canva or whatever you have access to, create a nice portfolio with a spread of your work, of photography that shows exactly what you've been doing over your career. And if you don't have photography that speaks specifically to their type of industry, you can work on building up that portfolio over time. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but you want to make sure you have that readily available so you can send over a nice proposal when they request it or when you proactively go out and reach that corporate client. So, website, a nice ready made proposal that you can easily adjust and adapt to whatever the ask is. And finally, you want to make sure that you as a business have a system in place to show up professionally and work directly with that client so that they know that you are on the level that they are on. That means having a CRM system that is managing your contracts and invoices. That means having an email system to where you know that once you get that client email, you're responding within 24 hours and getting back to that client. They need to know that they're working with a professional. If you're not at that level in how you operate your business, I wouldn't even bother reaching out to corporate clients. So you want to make sure you have your website in place, that your proposal is ready to go, and that your systems are in place, because winning corporate clients is not about luck, it's about systems. So now I'm going to tell you the 5 steps to getting your first corporate client. Now, these things are not simple, quick fix steps. They're things that need to be nurtured that may take time. If you're starting from zero, you never worked in the corporate industry before, you're going to take some time to work on different projects. You may work on 1 or 2 projects for free at first so that you can build up a portfolio so you can put yourself in position for success. This is not about short term, quick, fast grab money. This is about building a reputation for long term success. Number 5 on the list for getting corporate clientele: lead generation platform. So think Bark, Upwork, Thumbtack, things of that nature, where you can go on, create your portfolio, and then narrow down on the photography end to what industry you want to work for. A lot of people say they get on here and they don't get bites. They're like, it didn't really work for me. I've been on there for years. I don't get anything from Bark or Thumbtack. 9 times out of 10, these are photographers who are not doing the work, on their end. When you get on a platform like Bark, and for me, I've been on and off of Bark for a while because I don't have the time to dedicate. But when you do get on a platform like Bark, you have an opportunity to present yourself to a wide range of clientele. So you want to make sure that your portfolio looks incredible, but also that you are proactively reaching out to people as they're bringing leads on. Bark is a nationwide platform. If you're doing corporate photography, videography, you don't have to stay just in your city. You could be looking nationwide because if they have the budget, you're able to fly and travel across the world to do whatever you want to do. So, in a platform like Bark, you need to make sure that your portfolio is in place and that you are actively jumping on these leads as they are coming available. Because 9 times out of 10, these people who are in these corporate spaces, they're looking to make a decision quickly and they're going to jump on probably the first or second person who reaches out and makes contact with them. Another thing to think about these lead generation platforms that I feel like people don't talk about enough is that a lot of these platforms are pay to play, right? Just going in there, creating a portfolio, putting your information on there is like putting a needle in a haystack. You're one in probably thousands of people who are on this platform. It would be pure luck to think that somebody's just gonna come across your page. Your page has to be well developed, has to have reviews, has to be seen amongst the crowd. How do you set yourself apart? Showing quality work, but also being proactive. So, in a lot of these places, you can buy different tokens or points or whatever it may be able to gain an extra level of access. A lot of people won't do that. That's what separates the amateur from the professionals. The professionals know I may spend $200 on a pack to get access to phone numbers and emails, but they know with that $200, I may go out here and get a $3,000 contract that pays for that, right? And so on a lot of these different situations and scenarios, when you're paying, you're putting skin in the game. And the way that you reap benefit is by going in and proactively reaching out to people, sending emails, making connection and contact, and using that advantage that you paid for, because that's what you're paying for, an advantage to get out there and get connected with the right type of clientele. So I've got a friend of mine who he's been on Bark for years. He's made tens of thousands of dollars off of business straight from Bark. He's paid for his platform to get in and get access. He gets their phone number. The moment he sees something that feels like it aligns with his corporate conference and event lane, he picks up that phone and dials. And 9 times out of 10, he's first or second person calling. And if you're early in the game, typically you're going to win that biz. Number 4 for me is in-person networking. And I'm talking about all different types of networking events. There's networking events happening all over your city, and they range from individual business to consumer businesses to business type of businesses. Think about it like this. You're thinking, okay, I'm looking at chambers of commerces. I'm looking at different space to go to network an event. I'm not going to see these big corporate clients at these networking events. But what you may see are small businesses who are growing and who still need your services at higher prices to be able to do corporate S type work. Or you may even find some of these large businesses who are sponsoring some of these spaces who may see you as they network in these spaces and say, "Hey, we love what you're doing here. We want you to come and work for us." That was my story, as I've told time and time again, in working with Toyota. I was a member of the Dallas Fort Worth Urban League Young Professionals. They were a sponsor. I was recognized as a small business owner, and I self-filmed my own tape video to show, my appreciation for being recognized as a small business owner. They saw the video, loved it, and I was on campus at Toyota headquarters next week. You never know where the opportunity is going to come from in in-person networking. You're not just networking with the people in the room, you're networking to get access to the people that they know outside of the room. So if there's 100 people in the room, they could know thousands of people outside of that room. You may not connect with the person in the room and find your next corporate gig, but you may connect with someone who knows someone who works at said gig, and you don't get that access unless you nurture relationships. That's why I say it's the long game, because in-person networking, you're looking to make relationships. So for me, for example, I moved to Dallas, Fort Worth. People was not feeling me when I first got here. Nobody knew me. I had been working in photography, video production for like 6 years at this point. And when I showed up here, they were like, "You're just a guy with a camera. Like we're not from where you're from. We don't know who you are. How do we know that you're even good at what you do or that you do what you say?" And so I had to prove myself. I had to create relationships. I had to stay out. I had to stay visible for years, just connecting with people and shaking hands and joining organizations and networking till it got to a point where people could recognize me for my work and my reputation. It took time to build to be able to move into that. And that's what happens here. You get out, you network. Some networking you can move a little bit faster. There's still that same pay to play like on Bark where you may join an organization like BNI or become a member of a member org and be able to gain some traction that way where they'll say, okay, he's a member. So a lot of times when you're new in the organization, they want to throw you more opportunity in business because they want to keep you coming back. They want you saying nice things about their organization. And this is an opportunity for it to work almost on a quid pro quo, right? But it's up to you to invest your time and energy to develop those relationships because ultimately those relationships is what sustains you long term. So when you step away from those organizations, the relationships you built in those rooms is what come with you. And they remember, oh, Jared did the videography at this event. We would love to have him at this next event. Oh, I'm no longer working for this small business. I have now moved over to working in marketing at Craft. Ah, man, we need a photographer for this community event. Well, Jaron was in Urban League with me. Let me go over here and see if he's available, right? These are things that happen over time, gradually as you build up your reputation, but they start in small spaces, such as in-person networking. So definitely keep that in mind as you're looking for opportunities. Great places to network are the chambers of commerce, Urban League, if that's in your city. And then there are professional referral networks. You can go to either that are typically area based. So if you're working in a specific area, they may have one that meets for breakfast every Wednesday. You know, you can search these things online, and they're pretty readily available. But you want to find a room that's going to be open and susceptible to actually pouring into you, but it's giver's gain. It's what you put into it is what you get out of it on both ends. So be mindful of that as you're going into these networking events and looking to grow your business. All right, number 3. Now this is where you get proactive. I would say one of the highest levels of how I've gotten into corporate business, obviously having my things aligned to show that hey, I'm good at what I do, has been taking that portfolio and putting it in their inbox. Cold emailing is a huge success story for me. Sometimes you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So you have to create systems and sequences to be able to follow up and stay on top of these different businesses that you want to work with because they're just like you. They're getting emails, thousands of emails a day. They probably go to spam folders or they don't open them or what have you. So really, like a lot of this stuff, it comes down to a numbers game. Now, I don't like cold calling, so I've never really been into that. But I will cold email as much as I can, just shooting shots, man. Sometimes I will think of, okay, here's a company I want to work with. Let me see if I can find an email for somebody who's in position. So typically, I'm looking for marketing directors, experienced managers, people who I would think would be decision makers in that space. And I'm just sending emails, throwing darts at the board. And I would say honestly, probably 90% of the time, they're either not responding, or if they do respond, they're just telling me no. Or a lot of times what I'll get is they don't respond, and then 3 months from now, I'll get a random email because they have forwarded it off to some coordinator or manager or someone down the line who works directly with that, and that person is finally getting back to me because 'cause they're at their job too, so they're busy, or because that event is in a month, and so now they actually need to hire a photographer or videographer, so now I'm now front of mind, right? So this happens a lot. So when you're going into that space of doing cold outreach, whether it be, sending Instagram DMs, I have sent Instagram DMs to corporate companies to do brand partnerships, and they have been very responsive. I have sent LinkedIn messages to people, and they are responsive. And responsive doesn't always look like yes, we would love to work with you. Sometimes it's not the right time. They're just not ready to move forward on something like that. But it puts you on their radar. It always has some sort of connection and success. So you have to be proactive in that regard. And a lot of these spaces, you really have to be proactive if you want to work with corporate clients. Because think about you at your job. Are you thinking, I want to hire a brand photographer that I've never heard of? No, you're thinking, I've got to get this done by 5 and get this over to my boss. So for you, the idea has to be to make it easy to take it easy. They need to see value in what you're doing. And in doing that, you have to present yourself to them so they can even know that you exist, right? So put your best foot forward, give them an email sequence. If they respond, give them that portfolio I mentioned earlier, that proposal, have it ready so you can update it and send them actual numbers that you already have cooked up and ready to go. You want to make it as seamless as possible when you're working with these corporate clients. You are providing a solution. So you don't want to have to think too much. Here's what we're doing. Here's how much it costs. Thank you so much for responding. We'd love to work with you and move with confidence. Confidence is key. So, cold email, number three, I think it works wonders. And I'm going to tell you now, probably 80% of other photographers are just not doing it because it's tedious work. It's kind of like being an NBA player, right? Like when you want to be the best of the best, you don't go doing spectacular dunks all over the place to be the best of the best. No, you shoot the mid range over and over and over and over again until it becomes automatic. Cold emailing, cold outreach is the mid range of photography. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be consistent. And being consistent with it is what gets me in the door. And then once I'm in the door, it creates further opportunity. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about cold outreach. Number two on the list is partnership, specifically agency partnership, but partnership nonetheless. A lot of times you're thinking, I want to work for this big corporate company. And you might have thought to yourself, "Ah, I'm sure they already got somebody that they work with, or maybe they have an internal team or what have you." These things are probably true. But you know who those people are working with? They're working with freelancers. So you need to be mindful to go partner with agencies, reach out to them, see who, find out some of these people's name, do your Google research, maybe talk to people at these networking events. What agencies have you heard of? The information is out there. Do a little digging, maybe use some chat GPT, find out who these middlemen are. Who's the agency that operates that? If they have an internal team, who works on that internal team? Because I can guarantee you, with these big companies, those internal teams are overworked and underpaid. And when they get overworked and they're stretched, who do they call? An outside contractor. And that's where you come in. My professor back in college, when I was getting my degree in entrepreneurship, once told me there is so much money to be made in being the middleman. And that's what you can become, a middleman. And it don't sound glamorous. And that's okay because the check still cashes. So you want to be somebody's outside source, somebody's solutions. If they're an agency and they're doing a bunch of different experiences for big clients, you may not even work every experience they do. You may be specifically for one client because they've used you in this region, what have you, but the opportunity is still there. And the opportunity for growth is also there. As they grow, you grow. The partnership is mutual. You make them look good through your work. They give you more opportunity. Y'all expand together. That is the goal. And last but certainly not least, number one on my list, it should be number one on your list, is referrals. Referrals are key to all businesses. You want people that you work with or people in your network, people that you know who can vouch for you to refer you business. If you're looking to get into the corporate photography space, start with people you know who worked in corporate America. Ask for the referral. Hey, I see you work with this company and you've been there for years. Who typically does your photography? What events do you guys have going on in the year? I would love to be the photographer for this event. If you need to get your foot in the door, maybe you don't shoot it for pay the first time. Maybe you say, "Hey, I got this event coming up for your ERG, employee resource group. I'm down to shoot this one. Let me come in because I want to get some experience doing this." And then they say, "Hey, you did a great job. We'd love to have you at the next one." Great. Here's how much that would cost, right? Sometimes you have to kind of monkey paw them in. It's a sales tactic. You give them a monkey's paw to get them, hanging on. Once you got them on, you pull them in. That's what you do, right? You reel them in. That's what you do. You pull the bait out. You got to reel them in. So keep that in mind. Looking for referrals. A lot of times, the people on social media, your friends from college, high school, your people from former jobs, they still have corporate jobs. They are still in places where they may know opportunities that are available for you. The longer you work in this space, the more you build a reputation, the quicker they become referral partners and they say, "Hey, we have this upcoming event in Black History Month. We would love for you to do a video presentation. Hey, my cousin works at Microsoft. They need a headshot station." You know, it all kind of works in sync. It all works in tandem. So you want to be able to be in position, show yourself as the expert in corporate space, or if you're new to this, show that you are capable of doing the work in the corporate space, and then ask for referrals or do the work, show the work, and wait for those referrals to come. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the referrals ain't coming just cause. You got to put the opportunities in front of people. You have to make sure that you are front of mind on people's brains, right? Social media is constantly moving, constantly changing. The way you make sure you're front of mind, show that you're capable, put your work out there, and ask for what you want. If you got nothing from today's video, the answer is to go out there and ask for what you want. You got good video quality, you got good pictures, the megapixels is high, you done spent the money, got the gear, you've done the thing. Go and do the work. If you don't have the work, create a spec sheet to show them that you can do the work. Offer your services on a trial. Let them try you out so you can get in there. I'm not saying do that for everybody because some people will take advantage. But if this is a space that you really want to operate in and you see an opportunity, make that opportunity work for you. Don't sit around and wait for it to come to you. Because if you're sitting around and wait for you, I'm telling you now, I'm going to get the opportunity because I'm going after it. So I'm going to need you to go after it too. Don't tell yourself no. Let them tell you no. That's the name of the game when it comes to corporate. They're sending out RFPs, they're requesting proposals, they're doing the work. They already got the job. You trying to get the job. If you're trying to get the job, you need to show up and show out so that they know that you're worth giving the job to. And that starts in your systems on how you operate, how you respond to emails, how you show up professional, how your pricing is laid out. All of those things matter. Get all of that in place and then take your ball, go to their court, and tell them check up. I'm ready to roll. I'm Jaron Collins, JCI Creators. I brand responsibly. Let's do the work. So that's it, man. That's all I got for y'all today. Those are my 5 ways to get the new clients. I hope you learned something that you didn't already know. If you enjoyed what we talked about today, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel because we're helping you go from portrait to corporate. We do all things well, man. We are making you a better photographer. I'm your photographer mentor, Jaron Collins, JCI Creators on all social media. Make sure y'all follow me. Let's get after it. Brand responsible.